and maybe, I don't know if this is even controversial, but I'm just going to say, I don't care about house points at all.
Yeah.
Really?
When they lose points, I'm like, yeah, make it 50, make it 1,000. What do I care? You know, like if I was a student, I don't think I'd fully like get into it. I'd probably be that stupid rebel kid because I was not a good student. That like I just wouldn't mind that much. But doesn't feel like there's a lot of social pressure, like classmates saying, how dare you lose us those points, or yay, way to go, Hermione, you got us all those points in class today. Like, it doesn't feel like students care that much about the points. Or maybe I'm just thinking, well, I don't care that much. So like I'm just like having a little trouble like getting into it. Like, is there another reward beyond the cup itself?
Yeah, like what do they actually get though?
Because
I want to care about it. I really
you're
do.
You're like squirming in your seat.
I do think that there should be maybe another reward outside of that, but it's the matter of pride. So there is, I think students do care about it to an extent, because you see when they got 50 points taken away for, remember in the first book, they got 50 points for going to Hagrid's hut and being out of school or being up after hours.
Oh, because of the dragon thing.
The dragon,
and then it was 50 points per person. Yeah.
And for like a month, no one talked to
like
Harry and
outcasts.
Hermione and Neville for like a month because they were so furious. I think the students care about it. I'm with you. I think the whole system is arbitrary. I think it's a ridiculous system. People get points for the dumbest reasons. They need some kind of like official rule book. But
what chapter was it when I texted you?
Yeah, chapter 7.
7.
People. Oh my gosh, people get points for the dumbest things in this. And there's one that we'll talk about later too. We haven't. So at the recording of this podcast, we haven't read chapter 10. We're gonna listen to that together, so we don't know any spoilers for chapter 10. We've done 6 to 9, and we're gonna do chapter 10 together, so it'll be in this podcast. But I the point system is weird to me. I think that they should be rewarded something else, but I also do like the matter of pride. It's kind of like in school, like French fry systems or something like that. Like you I don't know. There's even if you don't get anything. I don't think anyone else
knows what a French fry system is.
No, it did come up in a previous like thing, but I'm even thinking of summer camp. You know, we did red versus blue at a camp that I went to, and I remember getting pretty passionate about the points, and I don't even remember why, but it definitely mattered at the time. So that's what I'm thinking about. Do the points matter to you guys, Jen and Kristen?
I never really thought about it.
But like, does it hurt when they get points taken away and you're like, oh?
No. And I feel like it should, because I would be that kid that's like, I gotta win. Like, I'm super competitive. It's like, I gotta win. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't really get into that, like in my mind in the books.
I am kind of with you though. In the books, I don't care that. I like the way it's set up. If I was in high school, I think I would care about it so much. Like maybe the first time I read this, I was like, oh, they lost 50 points here. They lost 5 points they got 5 points for defeating a fully grown mountain troll. What the heck? They should have gotten 50 or 100.
I wonder why she put this in there. Like, why does this even...
I think it's very similar to like a British boarding school. I think this is what
right. It might actually
is that?
Be.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it is kind of like a point system, and it's very easy to, I guess, govern students because they care so much about this that you can be like 50 points taken away and they wouldn't do anything like that again. Like when Snape threatens is taking away points like crazy, after he takes away like 20 points from students for doing things, they shut up. Ron like punches Harry and he's like, don't talk anymore. That happens all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it is like a weapon that the teachers use to shut students up.
And then it's just bragging rights at the end where you get your flag at the hall and that's it.
Yeah. Which is huge when you're in it.
Exactly.
But not...
like, I feel like if I was in it, I'd be in it.
And
is there actually a cup?
Yeah.
That you
like
get?
a physical trophy.
A physical trophy.
I picture it as
that
being
goes
big.
into
Stanley
your
Cup,
own...
like,
the Stanley Cup
human
thing.
size.
Yeah. And it's like the Stanley Cup. You get to like etch your name on it. Oh. So that's why I think there is house pride too. So this is another reason why I like it, is because if you get sorted into Gryffindor or Hufflepuff or Slytherin or Ravenclaw, you have to uphold the house traditions. That's why McGonagall, that's why the house teachers are so passionate about like making sure their houses are it. Because if you're in Gryffindor, like imagine Ron being in Gryffindor and all of his siblings have won it. And they're like, you need to like win it for Gryffindor. You need to honor Gryffindor because Gryffindor in the all-time standings is like just below Slytherin or something like that. If you win it 2 years in a row, we'll be tied with them. It's like the rivalry. Maybe you guys know this, but the Lakers and the Celtics in basketball. It's like they're both very close and who has the most championships, and every other team is way below them. The next team is like Golden State Warriors with 6, Bulls with 6, Spurs with 5. I'm the Spurs fan. And it's like Lakers and the Celtics, huge rivalry between the two for who has the most, and it's like who's going to edge the other one out. And it's kind of similar to this.
That's why I don't care.
Right. Like if you want to get me into this, Rangers versus Devils.
Yeah, there you
maybe.
go.
I don't know if it's the same thing.
I just also wish we could check in on the point standings at some point, because in my mind, if I was a student, that would matter. So like, I would love to see Percy chiming in and saying, guys, here's where we're at. Like, you lost points. Like, let's make it up this way. Or Fred and George have never really mentioned points before. So like, the upperclassmen don't seem to mention it that much.
Yeah.
And we're never seeing like, oh, we're so close. Did you see? We just we're winning. We're at the top right now. Slytherin just lost points because of some person in a class we don't know about. Like, and now we have a chance to win. Like, but it never feels like they're checking in on that, or maybe we just don't see it.
Is it? What's that thing in the Great Hall?
It's the hourglasses. Each house has an hourglass.
Right.
Is that what keeps track of it?
So
But
they
we
could
don't
go
know
and
track.
look. Yeah, because we don't see it,
like
and they're
for
not
us.
referencing
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
But in theory, they're passing it for every meal, right? Like, wouldn't that be the topic of discussion? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
I nerd out about things. Okay?
No, I was laughing because you're chewing in the mic. I was
I'm
like,
chewing over here. I think one thing that would be really fun for people reading these is if online somewhere you can go to like a House Cup checker, and there's like a ticker that you can be like, I'm at chapter 7 in book
And it'll
3.
show you
that
the
exists?
And it would
standings.
show you
No,
the
it doesn't
points.
exist.
I don't think it exists.
because we don't have enough
why aren't you
information.
guys
Here's
doing
your
that?
chance.
Two of you.
I don't have authoritative access to like J.K. Rowling.
Yeah,
would
but
have to
make
create
your
She
own
would have to do
website.
it.
No, I'm saying if you made your own website. and
Yeah,
people
but we would have
follow.
to just make it
yeah.
up.
Yeah,
It wouldn't
like,
be canon.
You can kind of track it in the book, but I don't know every single class.
the
that's
proper
happening.
language
Then you
over
send it
here.
to her and be like, this is what we got so far.
Yeah,
You should.
you could. That kind
You
of be
can.
fun.
What? Just try.
Why
You
not?
I
don't
want J.K.
try,
Rowling
you'll
to do
never
that, 'cause
know.
I want an authoritative
Yeah.
like number on who is winning at what point. Because then it might make you more invested in the book. You're like, okay, Gryffindor, and like I'm looking for house points here. If
Right.
they win the next Quidditch match, they get 50 extra points for their team, and they'll be up.
Yeah, I guess it's like they're just plopping like this is how much we're taking away. Kind of like what you were saying. I understand it now. Took me a minute.
You should
It's like you
email-
don't know what the total is.
Right.
I'm following now.
And so sometimes
I'd be
it
in
just
it more,
feels like,
maybe.
did they just lose half their points right now? Or,
Right.
you know, I don't know. Just feels
Yeah,
a
you
little
just don't
bit.
know. Like,
and
did you go
does the
below
team in last
0?
place still always fight for honor? Or are they kind of like, we lost it, whatever. Just, we could be late to class now.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, there's probably some of that. Or sabotaging.
Ooh.
I'd probably be more interested
If
it
you
like
knew where the standings
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
I wish we at least got an update before Quidditch matches. Then I could get a little more like, if they win this one. We got a little bit of that where they were giving some information about standings. And if we play this team and they lose to this team, we could still win.
Oh, yeah.
So we're starting to get there.
Anyway, this was a long intro, but welcome to our podcast. I'm John.
Jen.
Danny.
and Kristen.
This is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Just a heads up for all you listening, please, I am telling you, if you really want to enjoy this podcast more, go to our subreddit. We have a few people there right now who are discussing all sorts of issues related to the podcast and related to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And I am going to incorporate all those in upcoming podcasts because they are such fun discussions. It's not even a lot right now. Like, I'm going to start putting a lot more on, but we have so much fun discussion on so many things that I can't even mention right now because it's slight spoilers. So when Danny, Kristen, and Jen listen to this podcast when it comes out, I can't give them any spoilers even for what's happening in the future. But go check out this subreddit, r/first-time-readers, and go interact on some of our posts because I am having the time of my life right now on this. And Jen is probably listening and laughing because I'm such a nerd, but this is making me so happy. It really is bringing me back to the time when Harry Potter first came out. And we were all reading it together and we didn't know what was going to happen in the future and we can all discuss certain things and theories. It has that flavor to it. So I'm telling you, if you enjoy this podcast and you want to enjoy more of it, go check out our subreddit, r/first-time-readers. And then also, please, again, rate and review this podcast. We're getting a few people that are interacting on our Reddit too, but rate and review this podcast on Apple. Wherever you can rate podcasts and review podcasts, please send us a review. We would love to read any on the air. We're getting some online too on our Reddit on our subreddit. And one of them just says this, which I thought was really, really fun. It says, I wanted to say I love you guys so much. I listen to a lot of Harry Potter podcasts, but most of the people just critique the books all the time. And while it may be funny or interesting sometimes, I've always wanted to hear someone's thoughts when reading the books for the first time and actually enjoying them. And then they said, also, if the episodes are long, don't worry. We don't mind. It's even better because we get more content. And then they're excited too because they found the subreddit and then they can kind of interact and we can include things in the podcast. So that's why this community is so fun too, because I'm going to include a lot of stuff that you put on the subreddit onto this podcast. Probably not a ton right now because we just started it in the last few weeks and I'm asking some questions for the end parts of Prisoner of Azkaban, but the next few podcasts after this one are going to have a lot of subreddit stuff in it. So it is making me so happy. This is becoming a community of nerds. I love this so much. Please keep doing this. Rate and review this podcast. As always, our music is by Jacob Petrus and our design is by Zachary Rupert. Go check them out on Dribble and Artlist, respectively. And just enjoy this podcast. I am so happy that we're doing this. As another quick note, we recorded chapters 6 through 10, but chapters 6 through 10 we recorded were 3 hours and 20 minutes. So I'm breaking those up into 2 different podcasts. This first one is on chapters 6 to 7, and the next ones we're going to release them probably in the same week are going to be on chapters 8, 9, and 10. So enjoy the podcast. I am so happy about all this community that's getting built up around this. We are so grateful for you. Thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us. Honestly, it does. Jenn and Danny and Kristen, we all love doing this so much. It's so much fun. But enjoy the podcast and give us a rating and review and join our subreddit. Okay, we are on chapter 6, Talons and Tea Leaves. This stretch of chapters probably to this point might be my favorite stretch of chapters. Like from all the books that we read, from chapter 6 to 10 of this book, it's probably like our truest class chapters. Like we actually get to experience the school, actually get to experience the classes that they're in. It's like fun for me. The first few books, you don't have that much.
No. I feel like she's setting the foundation in those books. And now we understand it. We don't need like an explanation so much. It's like now you're in the class.
Yes. We start this chapter off, too, with a discussion on Dementors and Azkaban. And one of the Weasley twins, George, says this. Dad had to go to Azkaban one time. Remember, Fred? And he said it was the worst place he'd ever been. He came back all weak and shaking. They suck the happiness out of a place, Dementors. Most of the prisoners go mad in there. So the question I have for you guys real quick is, what do you think of Dementors? And what do you think of them sucking the happiness out of a place?
I feel like that's a fair statement though, because they're like this evil, they seem to be like soulless evil creatures that are trying to find the dark wicked wizards and witches, I guess, and they're in charge of the security at Azkaban. So
be a terrifying prison.
I feel like that's fitting though, to be security for them,
for Azkaban.
Yeah.
I question it at Hogwarts. Being around children, you know, it's like you get it because they're protecting and trying to find this madman, but then things happen with children. So it's like, where's the line for that?
But then Dumbledore agreed to have them there because otherwise, what?
He wasn't happy about it, right?
He agreed that they could be they could protect the school, but they couldn't be on school grounds. So they're surrounding the school essentially, but they're not allowed to be on school grounds, which is why he gets so mad in chapter 9.
Sorry.
There might be some gnats flying around. That's why he gets so mad in chapter 9, because they end up attacking Harry and he falls off his broom, and that's where they shouldn't have been. But what do you think of just Dementors in general?
I'd probably pass out if I saw one.
Yeah, I don't know. They freak me out. I don't know. They're little demons.
Yeah.
Like, I would not want to be by them at all.
Like, it feels like they'd be good at their job in Azkaban, but out in the world, it feels like not their place.
Yeah.
And also, Hagrid was there for 2 months. So that also feels weird. Like, Hagrid just went for 2 months and came back. We didn't see any emotional scarring in the last book, so maybe there's like a a less harsh version, and maybe Dementors are only for the extreme criminals there, but I don't know. They seem scary.
We're going to talk about this one a little bit later too, because there's some more information that we get on Dementors. So we'll wait till later chapters to talk about this. But there's another quote, and they get their tables, they're like schedules right now. And it says, Ron asks Hermione, how are you supposed to be in 3 classes at once? Don't be silly, said Hermione shortly. Of course I won't be in 3 classes at once. How do you think Hermione is handling this workload of having 3 classes at once?
I think she's crushing it, because however many classes she takes, she'll crush. It does not matter. And she works something funky out with McGonagall. I don't know what it is yet, but she's figuring it out. She does not seem worried at all.
If anyone could pull it off, she could.
Yeah.
Agreed. If anyone could pull it off, she could.
Yeah.
But do you have any theories about how she's actually accomplishing this? Like, she has multiple classes listed at the same times.
I just figured she was going to be swapping days or something with them, like in every other. Since it's 3.
It felt weird, like when something sketchy is happening, she's being coy, McGonagall's in on it, but she doesn't want to tell anyone, which does feel awkward. But by the end of one of these other chapters, I was going back and reading this and thinking there's some magical something that is allowing her to do this. Like, she's got a note taker from some other class, or a magical quill that's doing stuff. She can study late into the night. You know, it's like the equivalent of a recording of a class. She can watch it back later or something. And the actual knowledge is not the problem. It's just like not having enough time to go to all the classes at once. So she can use her after hours stuff to figure something out.
It is a little ridiculous she's taking Muggle Studies class, though.
Yeah, right?
She wants to get it from a wizard perspective. Oh, my gosh.
And I feel like some of these classes, even in 3rd year, she's read books over the summer. She could already pass these classes. She's raising her hand in every single thing. She's doing independent study for these classes and just going through the motion of going to class. She doesn't really need to be there, in my opinion, for at least some of these.
She needs to take like an advanced placement test or something like that can test her out of certain subjects.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, she can do Transfiguration year 3. She's like, I already know all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we'll do Transfiguration 4 with you. Like, I think there, to an extent, should be like levels of, if a student is so good in year 3, they should be able to go up to year 4.
Right.
Not just like year, but like the class of year 4, and like learn better and deeper magic or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I think McGonagall has big plans for her. And this is like her way of getting around some school rule where they don't allow you to test out. But McGonagall's like, look, you're clearly good enough for something. So here's a little trick that we let the best students do to learn more.
This isn't a spoiler at all, because this is not canon. But I'm going to ask you guys, do you guys want to know what Hermione does in one section of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is the play on Broadway, and it's not canon. It has nothing to do. It has everything to do with Harry Potter, but nothing to do. Do you guys want to know what she does, or no?
She's like a potion person?
I don't want to know because I don't want to know anything about the time frame that the Cursed Child takes place in.
Okay.
Or,
you can whisper it to me.
I'll whisper it after. There's a few different. We won't even talk about that.
I did just order the Cursed Child, and it arrived the other day.
Yeah,
So.
I have that one too. I haven't read it though.
Okay. We gotta go see that
the back,
play.
obviously.
You were like fully all in on Harry Potter.
There might have been a wand that came with it.
You
too.
had.
How many wands are you up to right
4?
now?
Is that 4?
5. But this wand, I didn't expect it to be in there because I got it at an auction website. So it just came and there was this little Hogwarts Express train figurine.
incredible.
You are gonna have.
I was like, what the?
You're gonna
but
have
the wand isn't like labeled. I'm like, whose is this? Is this just a random wand?
It
Bring it in.
shows you.
I'll identify it.
Ooh, yeah, nice.
You are gonna have a room in your house dedicated to Harry Potter.
It's going that direction.
There's nothing wrong about that, guys. That's incredible.
You see me
That is
celebrating
incredible.
over here. You can't see it in the podcast, but I'm excited.
They go to a divination class. Would you guys want to take a divination class?
No. I don't want to know future events of my life.
Yeah. I feel like it would freak me out.
Wait, time out. You don't want to know the future events of your life?
No.
You want to live in the moment.
You do?
I think for some things I would.
I mean, yeah, some things, but it's everything.
But it's also
You can
foggy.
choose and pick.
And I feel like you can change the future. So it's like it's not like you're seeing what your destiny is. You're just seeing a foggy.
But isn't that what like psychics
version.
do? Like I would never go to a psychic.
Right. It's tricky. I don't like it. I'm like the type of person that even with a book, I won't read the back again. Like I'll read a book. I'll read the back of the book to get the book if it sounds interesting. But then when I actually read it, if I don't read it right away, I don't want to know anything. I'd rather just go through the journey unknowing.
I think the book that they have is a good indication of what it actually does. I think this is different from being a psychic or anything like psychics are just saying generic statements. For this, it's like magical. I think it has more of a magical component to it. And the book is called Unfogging the Future, which I think is a very good metaphor because that's exactly what I think Trelawney is doing. She's like, you're looking into it and you can see things hazy, but like what you're trying to do is unfog certain things. So we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this right now. I have a very outlandish theory for this. And I am in the probably 0.0001% of Harry Potter fans who actually think this. I think Trelawney is right about almost every single one of her predictions. And everyone, she's a massive fraud in the books, and she's written as a fraud. And we'll talk about some of the predictions that she makes, but she is right to a weird extent about a lot of them in a very weird way. So here's one that I want to talk about. Her first prediction is that Neville's grandma is ill. In these chapters, does it mention anything about Neville's grandma?
No.
I don't think
It doesn't do it explicitly. Is there an implicit mention of Neville's grandma? I'm like quizzing you guys. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think.
Remember.
Is there? This was the only one I can think of, but we might notice it later when we get to it. Is there? There must be.
So Neville, his Boggart is Snape. And Snape comes out dressed in Neville's grandma's clothing. Mm-hmm. So think about it. If you are unfogging the future and you see someone in Neville's grandma's clothing that looks a lot like Severus Snape, but you're like confused. Maybe she thinks that the grandma is ill.
Oh.
So it's weirdly indirect ways to like think about some of this stuff.
Okay, but that's just saying like she's already foggy of the future. So
she's like
she's
the
teaching
best at it, and she can't tell the difference between Snape in a dress and
the future is very, very foggy. It's a very heavy fog.
And she's the master of it.
And
she's still messing up. Nope.
I just don't like it because it's like she said this thing to Harry and then his poor mind is in shambles.
Right.
Well, maybe,
he was, right? It's like telling
he was all
you that you're going to die. And it's like, okay,
right.
What day am I dying? Like, I'm just going to...
You're just living in a state of panic.
Something? Yeah.
Just waiting for it and waiting for it.
And
like you're not enjoying your life anymore.
He already thought that because of the Death Omen.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
My theory is I'm kind of going more towards the direction of she doesn't know what she's talking about. So I was thinking she does this thing every year to make the students afraid, kind of, picks a student, and maybe eventually she tells them like, no, this was just an example. I think she did the same thing with Neville. She tells his future and then does a little spell to make him drop the cup. Then all the students are like, whoa, she's so good, because that way you can instantly get these students to believe your thing, I can see the future. Look how I predicted that. But really, you orchestrated the whole thing to get them to believe. So that's what I thought. I'm like, poor Neville. He's actually trying hard. He doesn't want to break it. She tells him he's going to break it, so he's extra careful. He's carrying that over, and the cup just jumps out of his hand, or just like falls through like a ghost and shatters. And he's like, no, guys, I really didn't. And no one believes him, of course, because she picked a good student to like do Neville. This to. Yeah. But like, my theory is she's trying to get people to believe this. But
that's great. That's
she's
a great
not
theory.
that good at it.
Yeah.
Or maybe the gift is just so rare that she maybe has never even, like Parseltongue, she maybe has never even had a student, at least in recent time, who actually can see the future.
It's a very rare gift, the gift of being a seer, and we'll figure this out as we go on. But the book. And we'll keep talking about this as the book goes on, but the book 100% makes her out to be a fraud. In the writing and everything that the students believe and think, it's like she is almost the laughing stock of the school, which is what we see with McGonagall. McGonagall says that.
Oh, yeah.
But is she just comforting people? Maybe.
Which is another interesting one, yeah.
And like, I'm just thinking two things about like either from the Dumbledore side and the staff. McGonagall's not into it, but like, wouldn't Dumbledore be using some of this power to like understand things and consulting with her about decision making? And I would think we would see that a little more. Maybe we will eventually. And then also with the Weasleys, like the older siblings, wouldn't they be telling these stories like, oh, remember that happened? Oh, hey, watch out in your first class. This is what's going to happen. She's going to do this thing that freaks everyone out. But we haven't really gotten that yet. So there's either a code of silence or it's just part of the process that it's better to not spoil it for Ron so he can experience it himself.
Yeah. And these are the predictions that we have too. Neville's grandma is ill is the first one. Pavarti must beware of a red-haired man. February will bring the flu and she will lose her voice. By Easter, one of them will leave forever. Lavender's dread will happen Friday the 16th of October. Number 6 is Neville breaking the pink cup. And then there's a few after that. Number 7, Harry. These aren't exactly hers, but Harry has a deadly enemy. Prediction 8 is that there's a club. There's going to be an attack. There's a skull, which means danger in his path. And then the Grim, which is an omen of death. And then the last one, Neville will be late the next class, which is a funny one. But what do you think of, just what are your general thoughts on Trelawney too? So do you think she's a fraud, but what else do you think of her as like a character in this book?
I don't know. She like bothered me a little when she introduces herself to the class, because she starts off with saying, it's really hard to do this. Not many people can do this, and I can't teach you if you don't have the gifting of it. And then she goes into all these different predictions of people's future. And then I'm like, what kind of professor is this? I don't know. I just didn't really care for her.
She's really floopy.
Oh, floopy.
Like,
do you think she's manipulative, Jen? Is that why you don't like her?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm trying to get at.
Because it is really screwing with these students' minds. Like you can see that in this chapter when they go to McGonagall and they're depressed and they're like terrified.
Because I mean, the fact that she says like it's a gift and not it's really hard for everyone. Then it's like, what's the point of taking this class?
Yeah, she's like patting herself on the back.
I don't know if she's being manipulative though. I think she truly believes herself. Like all these things that she's doing, like I feel like she believes it. And she wants everyone else to believe it. Yeah. But maybe it comes off as manipulative.
Yeah. I like her,
what is
actually
in the teas? Yeah. Because wasn't Harry dizzy?
Putting little hallucinogens in the tea.
I was going to say she
there was a moment where I was like, what are they drinking?
And there's perfume like in the air. It mentioned it a few times. She's burning more than just
right, that's what I mean. Like,
so I don't know. Whether this is magic mushrooms or some kind of weed, I don't know. But like, I'm like, she's getting these students high, and then she's telling them about the future. It's just like that's what it feels like. They're drinking.
And I feel like that's
illegal for a class.
Yeah. But she's very engaging. Like this is an exciting class compared to all other classes. And so even though I think she did the spell to make Neville drop the china, I still think she's a good teacher because she's doing something with them. They're drinking tea. It's like an activity. And all of that stuff to get them to believe, I think is because with a lot of this magic stuff, the mental side is important. So like believing that it works, I think is a pretty important piece to actually doing it. So she just wants them to truly believe and have like examples that they've seen. I don't think it comes from manipulation, even though she might be misguided. I think she's a good teacher and she cares about the students. And she wants them to understand the weight of what they're doing. So death is a part of life and some students might die, you know? Oh, so I think she goes too far with that. Yeah. But also I'm like, interesting.
Then why aren't there more student ghosts in Hogwarts?
Are they dying in school?
She said every year it would be one, right? Didn't McGonagall say she predicts
but none of them have actually died?
She said none of them have actually died. I wonder if Ginny Weasley couldn't have been because she was the first year last year. But that'd be fun.
Whoa. But also we can change the future. Like, you know, so she's seeing a potential future and then it can be changed. So she's almost giving a warning like, hey, this is a thing. So probably don't do dangerous stuff. And then these students can do things to protect themselves, or Dumbledore can step in or something else. At a school like this with a Whomping Willow in the center of campus and all that, there are near-death experiences every day. So it doesn't seem unreasonable to think that if you're not looking at the future, students would die. But, you got Dumbledore and some good teachers keeping an eye out. They're like, you know what? Don't do this today. Or let me walk with you to protect you.
That's interesting that you think she's a good teacher, though. Like, you guys would disagree. Do you think she's a bad teacher?
I just don't think she's a teacher. I think she's just showing her skills.
Yeah.
I don't think she's that good at it. I think she might barely have this gift, but she knows enough to know when someone else has the gift, and she wants to find people that are good at it.
Does she, though? I think she just
trying her
believes.
best.
I think she believes herself. She believes that she can do it. And like maybe she's not really a good teacher, but I think she just wholeheartedly believes in the whole concept and what she's doing.
I mean,
but maybe it's not right.
Yeah, this happens with sports too. There are some incredible athletes who will try to go on and coach, and they almost never become good coaches. And the best coaches are usually the players that sat on the bench and rode the bench their entire careers and just sat and observed the game the entire time. Like I'm like blanking. Like Patrick Ewing, fantastic player, goes and he's coaching at Georgetown now, which is college. The program stinks. He's not a good coach. Same thing like Derek Fisher. Everyone thought he was going to be a great coach, and he was a good player. Ends up being a terrible coach. Steve Nash, not a good coach. Jason Kidd, he's an okay coach, not a great coach, but he was like a good observer of the game. So it's like all these guys, the best coaches are the guys that didn't really give a lot of playing time in the NBA. If they even made the NBA, a lot of them are just college players that even rode the bench in college because they sat and observed the game.
It's a totally different game.
Yeah. So it's like Trelawney, maybe she was actually good at this kind of stuff, and she's like going and she's trying to teach this stuff, but ultimately she maybe has the gift. Maybe we probably think she doesn't. Maybe. There's very mixed reviews.
Yeah, I mean,
and she just can't even teach in general.
Right. It takes a special gifting to teach anything, So I don't know. I'm still feeling her out.
Yeah, right. We've only been through one class so far.
Yeah.
The teachers at Hogwarts are really interesting. And what do you guys think of just McGonagall's thoughts on Trelawney too? Like, I'm sure the answer to this is pretty clear, but if you had McGonagall or Trelawney, who are you trusting more?
Oh, McGonagall, for sure. I just thought it was interesting how her composure slipped when it came to Trelawney. Because usually I feel like she's in place, like knows what to say, pretty strict. And like those words, she had to cut herself off. What was she saying?
She says so many great things. She goes, "There is no need to tell me anymore, Miss Granger. Tell me, which of you will be dying this year?" And she goes, "I shall not conceal from you. I have very little patience with divination. True seers are very rare. And Professor Trelawney," and it just ... nothing else. And that's it. So we clearly know McGonagall's thoughts on Trelawney. But the question is she a true seer or not? And do you think how many, like, if you had to draw some kind of proportion for it, how many people are coming through Hogwarts that you think are true seers? Is it like one student every class? One every 7 years?
I was going to say probably like years.
Every 7 years. Wow.
50
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be pretty rare, but a lot of people think they are, or they're trying their best. Well, because there are a lot of people out there in this muggle world that are trying their best. Yeah. So in the wizard world where it's actually possible, I mean, there are shops you can buy crystal balls and stuff on Diagon Alley, and like there's probably whole shops about it, and they're talking about tattered cards and crystal balls around her room. So I feel like a lot of people want to be good at it. It's such a fascinating idea, but I don't think too many people are.
I feel like Dumbledore is
good at it.
Because I feel like he's always seeing, at least in my perspective, it's like he knows the future to an extent. It's like foggy, but then he like shows up when he needs to. So to me, it seems like.
So you think he knows the future, or can see something, or has a crystal ball, or like consults, or not even have to consult another teacher? You think he just knows he's good at this? Yeah.
Like if I were to pick out of anyone, I feel like he right now would be like, yep, he's one of them.
That's interesting how you say that too. I think you nailed it too. I don't think Dumbledore is looking ahead to the future so much as he just knows the past so well. And because even when the Chamber of Secrets was open, his question was, the question is not who, the question is how. So he already knew who opened the Chamber of Secrets. He already knew all the stuff from the past. He's just trying to figure out and piece together things of how Tom Riddle opened it this time and how Tom Riddle is even like alive. So he's like piecing things together. So he knows the future a lot more. He knows kind of what's going to happen. Same thing with the Philosopher's Stone. Probably the same thing here. He just seems very calm about it because he knows what's already happened. He knows like he's already put some pieces together. With Trelawney, it's like forget everything that happened in the past. She doesn't care about it at all. It's like only what's ahead to the future,
right.
Which makes her seem very more imprecise. I don't know. That wasn't proper grammar. I don't know what that. But there's also just some funny lines in here too. Like Ron goes, or no, Harry goes, right, you've got a wonky sort of cross, he said, on consulting unfogging the future. That means you're going to have trials and suffering. Sorry about that. But there's a thing that could be the sun. Hang on. That means great happiness. So you're going to suffer, but be very happy. And then Trelawney says this. She goes, you'll forgive me for saying so, my dear, but I perceive very little aura around you. Very little receptivity to the resonances of the future. Hermione is seething right now.
Gosh.
Oh, man.
What do you think? So I think we kind of have clear answers for this, but Ron is a bit more of the superstitious breed, and Hermione is of the unsuperstitious breed. Which would you guys be? Are you more with Ron or more with Hermione on this?
Probably Hermione.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
What
Me too,
about
for sure.
you too.
Yeah.
I'm going to like try to plead Trelawney's case a little bit, but I am very much more a McGonagall person than a Trelawney person. There's also just another fun little note here where McGonagall's like offended. Says he hardly heard what Professor McGonagall was telling them about animagi, wizards who could transform at will into animals, and wasn't even watching when she transformed herself in front of their eyes into a tabby cat with spectacle markings around her eyes. Really, what's gotten into you all today? Not that it matters, but that's the first time my transformation's not gotten applause from a class. I love that so much.
That's funny.
What do you guys think about just animagi in general? Wizards that can transform into animals.
Into an animal.
Well,
Pretty cool.
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think every wizard could do this?
Oh, I think we kind of didn't we talk about this one time? And I don't know if we had an answer.
You said no. You said
like
only females because
that's
the
right.
witches are better. I remember everything.
No, probably not everyone, because I think we kind of touched on the fact that everyone will have their specialties. I feel like that would be a difficult one. I don't know why, but I just feel like that would be tough.
But that means you specialize in transfiguration. This is a sub part of that.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like I still have the mentality that even Dumbledore is not good at some things. Like, he's great at doing his stuff. We don't even know what his stuff is, but finding uses for the dragon hearts or dragon heartstrings, whatever it was, or dragon's blood. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. But was it heartstrings or that's what's in the wand and he was using... Yeah. So he's good at some things, but when it comes to medical things, Madame Pomfrey, I think, is better. When it comes to certain other things, potions, I think Snape is better at potions than Dumbledore. You know, like, I think there are specialties, and I think it must be one of those things you're either born with or you're not.
I was going to say, are you born with it?
And can you just choose your animal, or is it like your spirit animal? You know, it's like your destiny. Like, let me turn into an animal, and then you just become whatever you were destined to be. You would become a fly, Kristen, of course. Like you're,
I'm not going to ever live that.
Kristen the fly over here. I think that's a really good point, too, because Snape, even Lupin says in this that there's potions beyond him, and he's lucky that he came to this place because Snape is great at potions and can give him this potion that he needed. And it's... Dumbledore is good at transfiguration. He was transfiguration professor. So he was very good at this, but there's definitely some things that Snape's probably better at. Definitely some things like even charms, maybe Flitwick's better at that. Divination, probably Dumbledore's better than Trelawney at divination, maybe. But there's definitely emphases that wizards have. Like, he doesn't have time to study every branch of magic. He's got to specialize in certain things. But now we are at Hagrid's class, and do you think Hagrid should have left a note for the students about how they should open their books?
That would have been great.
Helpful.
He should have left it for the people who own the
I was gonna
bookshop.
say I felt so
goodness.
bad for that guy.
I don't know how books are made, but if bookshops are ordering them wholesale, shouldn't the wholesaler know how to ship these books in peaceful condition?
You know, like put them in a cage.
Yeah, they're just like eating each other in the store window. What the?
And they got a shipment of the Invisible Book of Invisibility.
That
And
cracked me up.
where?
Then they never found
Yeah,
them.
whoever's dropping off these books, why didn't they just talk to the shopkeeper and be like, "Hey, they're right here. Touch them right there. You feel them?
Yep.
Like put like baby powder over them or something."
Nice.
Like that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
How do you think Hagrid is as a teacher?
He's trying too hard. Because he wants to be liked.
Ooh. Do you think that's his biggest motivation? Like, what do you think Hagrid's motivation is?
Well, I feel like he got kicked out of Hogwarts, so now he's trying to like make up for that being. He was given this opportunity to be a teacher. I'm like, okay, I need to make everyone like me, so that way I can keep this going. And then he wants to show Dumbledore that he can do it too, and just be like a class that everyone talks about that they like. I don't know. That's how it came across.
He's got his own way of doing things and doesn't fully think it through, like we've talked about. So it's like he's just going to put the kids in situations that are going to be questionable. And he's not fully going to think it through, like especially putting them in dangerous situations. If someone's going to put kids in a dangerous situation, it shouldn't be him. Because I don't know if he like will know how to handle it, you know.
That's interesting. I think he puts students in dangerous situations, I think partially because he knows how to handle it. Like if I'm injured around Hagrid, I feel more comforted than if I'm injured around... Actually, I don't know. There are great professors at Hogwarts, but like if I'm injured around Lockhart, obviously that's an easy one.
Well, I mean,
But like if I'm injured around Trelawney,
pulling him into the conversation changes things.
it's like the worst person ever.
Well, McGonagall or Hagrid?
Right. I feel like
Yeah, McGonagall.
You would
Yeah.
pick McGonagall over Hagrid? If you
To
were
an-
her.
Yeah, maybe. It depends on what it is. McGonagall is a very stern person, so like I think she would do the job right, but if she wouldn't do it with a ton of love. I think Hagrid.
Oh, so you want Hagrid.
well, I feel like Hagrid is an immature teacher, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's never. This is his first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just a given anyway. Because he's you learn as you go, especially with teaching.
Yeah. It is a great first lesson.
But is it in this chapter? I don't want to go ahead with the animals. The
Hippogriffs?
yes, is that in this chapter?
Yeah.
So,
we
like-
didn't do a chapter summary, but
That's right. What's a chapter summary, guys?
They go through their classes.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
Oh.
yeah.
With the hippogriff.
Yep. Oh, when Hagrid is telling them how to bow, and Harry goes, he's like, okay, Harry, bow. And then he was like questioning, he's like, okay, you're doing all the right things, but slowly step away, because he wasn't sure how the hippogriff was actually going to react because it was delayed in his response. So like he does know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And he seems to do it calmly, but then it's still a dangerous situation too. So it's like this combination of like, I trust him, but like, should I?
Maybe don't start with hippogriffs your first lesson.
Well, I was gonna say, kind
Right.
of like what you mentioned when they started flying. Like do it, or was it you? I forget. Like a demonstration of it.
Oh, yeah.
Not just like hop on right away.
Put restrictions
and like,
on
go
their
for
brooms.
it. Right.
They can't go above 10 feet.
Right.
You know,
right.
like simple things like that.
Or Hagrid could have done it himself. Why didn't he do it?
Right.
To like illustrate it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, that's like it's
That
like
would've
first
been
year
better.
teacher mistakes. Like he should have done it himself. I would have loved to do hippogriffs, but I think he's trying to show off a little bit to the students. I can teach. I'm great at this. I think I'll say this about Hagrid. I think he has confidence, a weird amount of confidence in this specific instance, because if I'm like injured in Hagrid's presence, I think he's gonna have a less panicky streak than other people would. Even when Draco got hurt, Draco got his arm slashed and there's blood like blossoming on his robes.
Right.
And he is very calm, cool, and collected about it. Like if I got hurt and injured in his presence, I'd be like, okay, I don't have to panic that much about it, which is huge. Like if you get injured or something like that and teacher is coming up to you and they're freaking out, you're freaking out along with them.
Yeah.
Yep. With Hagrid, it's like he loses that confidence later, but he still kind of has this like confidence in his I guess gamekeeper abilities and like working with animals, all that kind of stuff. Even the first book when they're going into the Forbidden Forest to look after this thing that's eating unicorn, drinking unicorn blood that he doesn't know what it is. He just has the confidence to be able to do this kind of stuff. And that to me is like a little contagious where you're like, okay, if he's confident, I can be confident. And then here's the last question I have for this chapter because this is a long chapter. Wow. Is Sirius Black that serious that Hagrid is upset at the trio for visiting him in the dark? So they go to try to cheer up Hagrid. And he freaks out after he comes to his wits. Is Sirius Black that serious of a threat that Hagrid is that upset at the trio? Like, what are your thoughts just on Sirius Black right now? Is he serious or not?
Well, after what you just said about Hagrid being super calm and collected, right? I guess the fact that he did freak out, this is serious.
Sorry.
I think he's serious. That was an accident.
There's not another word for it.
I think Hagrid's extra emotional because he's drunk, and he's an emotional person already. But that does feel like a fair response. And we don't know the full story about Sirius yet, but it feels like too many other people do. I'm curious why Ron doesn't and Malfoy does because he's hinting at it. But he was more involved with Harry than we know yet. So, yeah, he's no joke. And he's after Harry. So, too bold of these kids.
Yeah. We'll learn more about Sirius Black as we go on. How we all read this chapter, but how good was I think chapter 8, how it ended with Peeves going, he's a real something, that Sirius Black. You're like, when he slashes the painting.
The painting. Yeah. I'm like, why can't I remember?
How good of an ending was that?
Oh, man.
If you're like a kid and your parent is reading this story and they're reading it chapter by chapter, that night you're like, Sirius Black got in the castle?
Seriously?
Anyway, that's not, we're on chapter 7 right now. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Like, we're going to skip chapter 7.
Yeah.
Chapter
really
7, the Boggart in the wardrobe. Someone give me a summary of this chapter.
Kristen's going. She's got a summary.
Hold on. I don't know if I can read this.
Do it.
What the?
Can I say that?
You can say it all.
I mean, it's not like okay. They have potions class.
What?
I don't know. They have potions class where Snape was extra pissy. Then they go to defense against the dark arts when they learn to fight off a Boggart? Boggart? How do you say that?
However you want to say it.
Boggart. But Professor Lupin deflects Harry from being able to have a chance.
Perfect. All right. This is a chapter where it starts off where Harry's mad at Draco because Draco is milking his injury. Have you ever milked an injury before in your life?
I'm sure. I just can't think of one.
Yeah.
Milked it?
You unmilked an injury with your ankle injury.
Yeah, well, that felt too
opposite.
embarrassing, but I'm sure there have been moments. Even when I was a kid, I like early memories, like you fall and scrape your knee and it's like, I just want my mom to hold me for a minute, like I'm like not that hurt, but it'd feel good to have a good hug right now, like just a small milking.
I definitely, I'm trying to remember what happened. I don't even think anything happened. I used to take acrobatics, and I hated it. I hated going backwards. Some of it was fun, but I tried to get out of everything. And so I would be like, my stomach hurts. I don't know. Like, I think I ate something weird. Just to like, when there was like something coming up that I knew I didn't want to do. So I would just milk it. They had to have caught on because every week there was something wrong every time we got to back handsprings. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing
I
it.
mihave have COVID symptoms. Sorry, can't go to that boring social event that I didn't want to go to anyway.
COVID was a lifesaver for social events.
Speaking as an introvert.
Yeah. This is like their first serious potions lesson too. Would you guys be good at potions? Do you think if you were here, you would be a good potion master?
Yeah, I feel like that would be fun.
Kristen, you'd be good at it.
I feel like that would be really fun because it's like by the book type stuff. I feel like it's like baking.
I was gonna,
you know,
say
like
that.
it's you've got directions. You just follow that, and then you end up with something beautiful. That would be cool.
Do you think that potions is a ever expanding subject? Not necessarily like, obviously they're probably coming up with new potions, but do you think like once a recipe for a potion is done, that's it? Or do you think?
No, you can have fun with it.
Do you think like there's people out there
hurt someone?
Yeah. Do you think that there's people out there that are exploring how to make a potion better? Or do you think once a potion is it's it?
No, you can always make it better. I don't know.
Or you kill someone.
I feel like
Yeah, you can either make it better or kill someone.
like the toad. He was like, oh yeah, well, why don't we feed it to your toad and see what happens to him if you're following directions.
Well, that's if you get it
Either
wrong. Do you think
die
like
or-
so like the recipe in these potion making books, do you think that people are trying to make them better, or do you think this is the best?
But how do you make it better? Because adding a little extra can make it wrong.
No, but I think that's like what happened with Hermione. And one potion's wrong is another person's right, or another potion's right. You know, like if you don't want your potion to kill your frog, but you feed that same potion to something else, it could do a good thing, or you could use that potion for some other application. I feel like it's an exact science in a lot of ways.
I was going to say there's got to be ways to like...
There also are ways you can improve the science.
Yeah.
And
that you can experiment what goes with what. Like in baking, you know that this will do this. I can't think of whatever, like makes something rise. I don't know. I don't know like the exact science in baking, but like you know what each thing has and what it'll do.
Yeah.
So then I guess learning that and knowing that first, the foundation, then combining certain things, you would know, okay, if I'm going to combine these, this is potentially bad. So I'm not going to do it on an animal.
Yeah.
right.
You know?
That's what they teach you for a lot of things, like even writing. You learn the rules, so you learn how to break the rules.
Right.
And I feel like it also could be about dosing too. Like I'm just thinking of in real life, in chemistry and baking and whatever. I was listening to something about salt this week and how iodine was being put in salt because originally people in the 1900s, early 1900s, had giant goiters and they didn't know why. People in Switzerland, far away from the ocean, because they weren't getting enough iodine in their diet.
Wow.
So then some dude in Ohio does an experiment, figures it out, and they're like, how do we get people to start eating this stuff? Oh yeah, just give them iodine and the problem's solved. But people didn't want to because iodine is literally poison. But it is very necessary for a healthy thyroid in very, very tiny doses. So people were literally dying eating iodine at first because they didn't know how to dose people. They're like, never give this to people. Eventually, after all these experiments, they figured it out. So even a potion that could kill somebody might be the perfect potion at a smaller dose to do something good.
So are you going to sacrifice some people?
Yeah,
Well, see, that's what I'm
what
saying. It is all risky. You know, it's not like, it's not easy work, but...
You got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Could there be trends with potions too? Like how like there's vegan and gluten free. Like could there be things with potions where it's like there's certain fads or trends?
I don't eat or drink toad, whatever. There's a vegan option.
Oh yeah.
We were just asked.
Yeah, you don't like certain ingredients.
There's-
You want to make a different version.
Yeah.
There, Kaylee, just come.
Hey, sum it up, Jen.
Just repeat, yeah, Jen.
I know,
just
I
repeat
forgot.
we were just asked by one of the listeners in the room if there's vegan options for potions or gluten free or like
All the
keto
different
options.
fads.
Right. I don't use any potions that involve animal parts.
Yeah.
I'm plant-based potions only.
Yeah, if you're
Yep.
on a dietary restriction, you can't have probably more than half the potions in the room.
And the whatever PETA is for wizards.
We have learned that there probably isn't any kind of PETA for wizards, but wizards do not treat their animals very well. Harry doesn't. Hermione is not the greatest pet owner. Ron is not the greatest pet owner. Actually, Ron's not bad, but
They're kids. They're learning.
yeah, for sure. This is where we get something very dramatic happen too. He goes, have you heard the Daily Prophet this morning? They reckon Sirius Black's been sighted not too far from here. Do you think the Ministry of Magic should have someone in the 911 dispatch office? Or do you think that they should bug certain, like, do you think that they actually have the ability to bug certain words? Like Sirius Black or something like that, where if that word is spoken, that they could like go there and check out whatever's happening there.
To some degree, maybe. Well, they can tell if certain spells or any spells are used. So they've got good surveillance, but what can they do? Can they do that to words?
That'd be interesting.
I guess you don't need to plant a bug because that's technology, but you could do a spell or an enchanted muggle thing that you can leave in the 911 dispatcher. Huh.
Do you think that there's a wizard in the dispatch office just going, okay, that's definitely like magical. We're going to forward this over to the ministry. Yeah. What do you think Harry doesn't know that Malfoy does know about Sirius Black?
I think Malfoy thinks he knows more than he does. So it comes off like he knows everything, but I feel like he would have already said things out loud if he really knew stuff. And the fact that Ron doesn't know it and Ron isn't sharing information, I'm not sure. I think it's the adults know a few things, the ones that are involved in Ministry of Magic, like Mr. Weasley. But I just can't quite set the whole thing with Harry straight. Oh, I forgot. This chapter brought up a little theory of mine because the shrinking potion, it didn't just shrink the frog. It didn't turn the frog into a small frog. It brought it back in its own lifespan and made it a baby frog, a tadpole. So I was like, this is not a shrinking potion. It's like a anti-aging, reversing
restarting
aging potion. So again, with the right dosing, maybe you can look younger. But I was like, you know what? Like, this is like, what if Harry is Voldemort? And the whole thing when he was a baby was actually just a misuse of the shrinking potion that was being used on Voldemort to try and rid him of his power. Then he ends up as a baby and everyone's like, oh, that's Harry Potter, you know? But really it was just Voldemort with a shrinking potion. So obviously, and I'm like, well, what happens to actual Voldemort? And did he go into actual baby Harry? I don't know. I haven't worked it out. But I know that Sirius is involved in some of this stuff too. And I don't know how. I don't know if Malfoy knows either.
I'm so interested in this. I am going to scour the internet later and check if there's actually theories. This vaguely sounds familiar to me to a theory. I don't exactly know what the exact theory is, but I feel like I've heard something like this before. That'd be fascinating.
Because this is like a misnomer. This is not a shrinking potion.
Yeah. we got to write a whole different book about this. That would be so fascinating. Wow. Potions. Oh my gosh, that'd be fun. What is wrong though with Snape to be testing this potion on Neville's toad?
Oh, so mean.
He was nasty these chapters.
He was, there was something going on.
Something's going on with him.
What do you actually think is going on with him?
He's either jealous of Lupin.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember his name.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he's jealous. Maybe he wanted that. I still don't understand if he wants that role, why he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Because he's been there forever. It's like tenure now.
Do you guys have any theories on that? Why is Snape actually not getting this role? He wants it.
Is like Dumbledore blocking it? Is Snape saying he wants it, but he actually doesn't because he wants to mess with whoever is in that role? I don't know. Or maybe he is dark, and whoever is the dark teacher, what is it? Dark arts defense teacher. Maybe he just wants to see what they're teaching and be like, okay, that's wrong, that's right, and like meddle with it if they're right.
Because he kind of does that when he subs for Lupin, he's like, you guys are way behind. Let's talk about werewolves right now. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I thought that was so weird. That's why I was going back and forth. I'm like, I feel like one of them is kind of evil in a way. It's either Snape or it's Lupin, and I keep flip-flopping. Like, what is... They're very like, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but
because Rowling is good at making the great characters end up being
not so great.
Yeah, and then like the ones who, or maybe just the ones who are clearly evil looking.
Yeah.
Oh, they were actually okay to begin with. Maybe. You actually see that in the first book because you're like, okay, so Snape was clearly the one that looked like he was going after the Philosopher's Stone, and then he's not Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I keep struggling. I keep flip-flopping that. I'm like, I can't tell who who to believe or who's actually in the best interest of the students and the well-being of everyone. So
what do you guys think of Lupin now, though?
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was the best teaching we've seen so far. Like he actually taught like I would expect a real teacher to do. He's going at a slow pace. You don't feel like it's a whirlwind. He's explaining things before he does them. He's making sure everyone's comfortable, but he's still pushing students to be better. It was like a perfect balance where I was like, oh, he actually is really good at this. It was the first class that felt really believable, that it wasn't some whirlwind of things exploding and like going wild. For any class, let alone like Defense of the Dark Arts, that has really been wild. So yeah, he's great. Big fan.
Yeah.
Except
like
I also don't like him at the same time.
Really?
He might be Sirius Black. I don't know. But
wow.
Did you say he might be Sirius Black?
yeah.
You know what's so funny? On the train, when they like, was he sleeping? Was his head down or something? And they couldn't see his face. I thought that.
Yep.
I was like, why are they going in there? It could
And
be
they're talking
Sirius
loud
Black.
about all this stuff, and
Right.
and then
Wait, but then that would
Harry's
make
thing
it
is
seem-
spinning and lighting up. There's something suspicious is happening in this
But
train.
they've seen pictures.
That makes sense. I know, but he could change what
He can
looks
change
like.
form. That's why.
But then-
well, I'm getting into my theory.
Who can
but-
change form?
Well, anyone can. They can become other things.
Why can't they? There
You
be
can
a
put on
spell for
invisibility
anything,
cloaks.
no?
You can
The,
take Polyjuice Potion.
the
you
Polyjuice
can.
Potion.
And so I'm like, we've
lot
got a
of it,
couple
but-
new characters coming into this, and I don't trust any of them.
Yeah.
That might be
Dang.
why Snape gave him a potion. He's
To
like,
keep him looking like another person.
or,
So do you think Snape and is
Is in
helping?
cahoots.
Well, after
mean, it
you're
would-
saying this, I'm processing it. So I'm
No,
like,
but see, that's what I'm
maybe-
saying. Like, Sirius Black is not going to walk up to the Hogwarts, this castle, and just like go to the front door and knock.
But then Dumbledore hired this professor.
He also
Lupin.
hired Lockhart.
And Quirrell.
And Trelawney.
And right. So many.
Which is that this is another completely different question, and we don't have to talk about this now. But why is Dumbledore? This is actually really endearing to me, so I kind of like this. But why is Dumbledore hiring all these terrible teachers? Why is he putting up with certain other teachers? Like, why are they putting up with Trelawney's nonsense for all this time? Like, if she's a bad teacher, she's been there for years and years and years. Get rid of her. Like, she can go teach it like the French school, or like she can go teach it like the
Get rid of the French.
the Mongolian school. I don't know. Like, go somewhere. Not Hogwarts. Hogwarts is the cream of the crop. Other than Ilvermorny, she can't teach at Ilvermorny because we're a little bit better than Hogwarts. But
boy.
why are there bad teachers? To me, I actually like this because I think Dumbledore does a good job of like making the school not so much about formal education, so much as like emotional education. Where, okay, you have bad teachers. Yeah, you have to learn how to put up with bad teachers. And I think Dumbledore does that really well. And I think it's teaching the students how to do that, how to treat people kindly, even though you disagree with them. Like McGonagall here, almost saying something bad about Trelawney. I don't like that. I like that she doesn't like Trelawney, but I don't think she should ever say that in front of her students. She does have respect for her, but she's like, it's a very bridled respect. So I don't know. I don't like that much. I like that there's random students here doing that. But back to this other one. I think that there should be some kind of like entrance examination for teachers coming into the school. Okay, can you take off your turban, please? All right, Voldemort's back there. You definitely can't teach.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Or maybe some kind of like revealing potion. Like, okay, drink this. If you're like drinking Polyjuice Potion, if you have an invisibility cloak or something like that, if you have any kind of thing, it's going to reveal who you actually are. Or like maybe just have an interview with a sneakoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, if those things
Right,
actually work,
right.
great. And also they have spells that can keep, I think Hermione says it in one of these chapters, like that Hogwarts has additional blockers to prevent people from coming in, like spells that don't allow people to do certain things, or it's just like kind of like, I don't know the right word for it, but just some extra protection, a little bonus firewall. So if they can do that for the whole school, shouldn't they be able to do that in some interrogation room? Understand someone's motives?
Yes. I think so.
But I thought you said last book that he kept them close because he kept Lockhart close because he knew something was up with him, but he wanted to see if it was true. So I feel like maybe that's why he allows certain professors Because then he wants to have them under his nose in case anything happens.
Because for him, it's not, I mean, it is about education, but it's about something larger for Dumbledore. So maybe he's keeping Lupin here for a specific reason. Maybe it's a Sirius Black and he's gotten under his... Want to expound on that theory? Do you really think he's Sirius Black?
I don't know that I do, but because I really like him, so it's hard to think of him as being Sirius Black. But I was trying to think of the new characters that we've seen here that could be Sirius Black, because my theory is he's been in the castle this whole time. So I was thinking he's either in the paintings, he's Crookshanks, or he is Lupin. Because we've never seen the paintings interact this much, and I don't know who this knight is, but I'm thinking, can we go into paintings? You know, like people can throw dust and travel through fireplaces to get from place to place. People can jump from painting to painting, but does that mean paintings are like in another dimension? Could you have a painting somewhere else in the world and get to the paintings in Hogwarts? And if we know humans can go into cats, could he be Crookshanks? So I don't think he could be the divination teacher. Who's the divination
Trelawney.
teacher? Because she's like a new character. So I was suspicious of her at first, but then McGonagall kind of knows her. She's been around a while. So I'm like, nah, it can't really be her. But he could at least try and get in with Hermione or Ron. And I think Ron would know if something was up with Scabbers. So I was like, could be Crookshanks.
Yeah, but then Scabbers was like sick too. So then I was like, maybe.
Scabbers was sick?
Yes. He was like skinny
acting
and
weird.
Stuff. No, because remember he brought, wasn't that?
Yeah, he brought him to the
book?
rap thing, and they figured out he was like 13 years old or whatever, or like something ridiculous.
And they usually only live to be like 3 years old.
Oh, that's right. I'll scratch that theory. Then.
Why would he turn into Crookshanks?
Well, I think he's looking for a sneaky way into Hogwarts. And so assuming, like, I'm just kind of trusting the narrative that he actually is after Harry. He's trying to find a way to get to Harry. And so he knows he needs to get into Hogwarts. So he's got to go in as a teacher or with one of the new students. So he could be a pet of one of the first years. Or then Hermione goes and gets this other pet. And that felt a little far-fetched because the cat has clearly been around the pet store for a while. So I'm like, well, he's not going to hang out pretending to be a cat in a pet store unless the person in the pet store is in on it, or he just like becomes another animal. Because
he goes into the back, slits the cat's throat, and comes out. Really dark.
Hey, but it could be. Turn. So I'm still thinking about something with these paintings and how that all works. We haven't seen any humans enter paintings yet. Maybe it's all that playing Mario 64 as a kid. You can like jump into paintings for each level. And I'm just like imagining that there's more to this whole painting world thing. So even if he's not in Hogwarts, the ripped painting felt like he was escaping a painting. So like the fat lady got damaged, and we're led to believe it was from the outside, but I was like, what if it was actually him jumping out of the painting, like scratching his way out? Yeah, so that's what I was kind of thinking.
Because the knight has the sword, so maybe this, like, he did slashes and was like wasn't able to get out for something, and then like he slashed it and was able to get out or something. Interesting.
And the Crookshanks thing only came up because Crookshanks jumped at Scabbers, but it was Harry's bag or Ron's bag, and I'm like, there's something in the bag that the cat wants, so it's pretending to jump at the bag, at Scabbers, but it's really not about Scabbers.
Maybe like there's another diary in there or something like that. Yeah, right. Could you imagine? This is a great first lesson though. This really, like, Lupin is, if nothing else, just a very apt teacher. We don't know if he's good or bad yet, but he knows how to teach. Like, even the first thing he says, "Good afternoon," he said, "Would you please all put your books back in your bags? Today's will be a practical lesson. You will need only your wands." Like, going to school and hearing that kind of thing where your teacher's like, "You know what, put away your books. We're going to like go outside today." You're like, this is the best. But then they go take on a Boggart. What would the Boggart take shape of if you were confronted with it? AKA, what do you fear?
Oh gosh.
It's a hard question to actually answer, but
well, I mean, mine's obvious. Spider. I'm with Ron on this one.
Hey, nice.
Well, yeah, we can even just we'll
just go
stick
with
that. I was gonna say we can stick with superficial, but I don't want to necessarily be superficial if like it's like loneliness and like it's a completely empty room or something like that. But it could be spiders or snakes or something like that. All the students, it was something slightly superficial. like a hag, a banshee, a mummy.
It feels like it kind of does have to have a physical form.
Yeah. I'll probably do crickets, cave crickets, wood crickets. Imagine one of those things.
Those alien things?
Yeah.
I hate those.
Being alone in the woods.
Oh gosh. Can you imagine that?
Really scary. And so are a ton of other things.
And then how would you...
Yeah, what's yours?
Yeah.
I don't get to hold on.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm like afraid of physical things. I've been trying to face my fears for too long, but like there's an element of fear in all of these things. Like I was riding my bike a few days ago. Snake pops out of the woods in front of me, and I didn't love it, but I also took out my phone and took pictures of it. It's like there's a balance here. So and I'm thinking of that with I'm like thinking that with all these things, like a bear or spiders or bats. Like I'm not afraid of them. I don't think it would turn into any of those things. But I don't know. I feel I'm not thinking of things that I'm afraid of. I'm thinking of things that are uncomfortable. And I'm like, maybe it would be something like it would just be really sticky or really like full of sand. Like you can't get sand out of your pants at the beach. Terrifying. Or like it's like one of these things that's uncomfortable but not scary.
Syrup or like
honey. So yeah, like I'm like picturing some kind of like quicksand type of thing. Like it's like the Boggart is engulfing me and I'm like getting suffocated. Maybe it would be something like that. So it's like some element of like claustrophobia, maybe.
Okay.
But that just feels like a Boggart couldn't really do that. Or can it?
I feel like it could. I feel like it could enclose you in some way.
Oh,
it doesn't necessarily
even if it wasn't actually able to suffocate me, it could make me feel the enclosing of, it could put me in a coffin, so to speak.
And then what would your ridiculous spell be? How would you guys change your fears into something humorous? There's also great lines in this too. Like, it's always best to have company when you're dealing with a Boggart. I would like all of you to take a moment now to think of the thing that scares you the most and imagine how you might force it to look comical. Which, like, as another side note, I think is a great way to deal with your fears. I love the aspect that there is magic to this, physical magic where, like you say, ridiculous and it pops into something, but there's also like this magic behind facing your fears. Like, I hate horror movies, but my college friends would sit around and we'd make fun of horror movies and we'd just sit there and like laugh at the worst acting ever and all this other terrible stuff, and it would make these movies hilarious. Like, I'd still hate watching them, but it makes it a little bit more bearable for that kind of stuff when you're with company, when you're doing this with someone, you're tackling on your fears with other people. But what do you guys think would be the thing that makes whatever your fear is humorous?
I was just gonna go back. What you were just saying just reminded me of tackling your fear. Like, Harry always has Hermione and Ron in everything he's doing.
That's such a good point. Which makes them more courageous. It's like Gryffindors when they're together, they're courageous.
Literally every time. And then he just is like, I'll handle this last leg by myself.
Yeah, exactly. Let me do the last thing, get all the glory, cross the finish line first.
But to answer your question, you're saying what would we do to make it better? Laugh. If I was in the dark in the woods by myself, what? Rainbows and butterflies would lead me back home.
A unicorn would pop out.
Oh yes, I would love that. But it wouldn't be laughing. Well, maybe. Yes.
Yeah. I would do something like if a cricket pops out, I don't know, make it like
Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, right. It starts automatically transform. I was thinking something like that. Make it like musical. Gosh. So it's like, it would like have a violin and it would like its back legs would be doing like a little jig and it would be dancing around the place. Like, make it a little bit more funny.
Yeah, I feel like I would need to put like a smiley face or some kind of like weird emoji face on it.
The poop emoji.
Thank you.
Excellent.
You know me well.
Well, you remember in the movies how they tackle the spider, right?
Didn't he just take the legs off?
No,
Was
they
that?
put the legs.
I couldn't remember.
Well, in the books, I think they took the legs off.
Yeah,
Right?
in the book.
In the movie, it
We're
was
not.
on
We
rollerblades.
didn't watch the movie yet.
Yeah, but Kristen
so
did.
thank you.
Wait, what was it?
It's not. I mean,
It's a huge
What did they do in the
spoiler.
movie?
Huge spoiler.
It's on
We know
rollerblades.
how they handle this.
Oh,
Which is great. I love
yeah.
that.
Oh,
Wait,
that's a
what
good
they
one
did?
too.
They put
on-
the rollerblades on each of the.
Oh,
spider's
that's
legs.
funny. So it's like
That is
slipping
funny.
around.
Major spoiler.
We can,
Yeah.
we can
Now
add the
I can't
rollerblades to the
watch
poop
it.
emoji
I guess
face.
if I'm being swallowed by quicksand, it would be like a ball pit or something fun, or it would just be like swimming, and I'm the one in control. Yeah,
I love that.
carefree.
And then last question for this chapter. What do you think Lupin is afraid of?
Wait, we didn't get to see that, right? Like he didn't do any Boggart thing, did he?
No, he did. He jumped in front, and it became an orb.
Oh, that's right.
Orb-looking thing.
Yeah.
They didn't know what it was.
No, hold on.
Oh, did I even?
I did go back and reread that actually. What chapter are we in? 7?
I don't even know what that is.
And then Hermione doesn't go too, as you guys are finding this. And Ron goes, "What would it have been for you?" said Ron, sniggering. "A piece of homework that only got 9 out of 10.
I love that. That was so good.
That's so good.
Oh,
Did you get it?
well, yeah, I got to the section, and afterwards, Lavender says, "I wonder why Professor Lupin's frightened of crystal balls."
Yeah.
And I'm like, is she right that it was a crystal ball? Because then maybe he's just afraid of the future, or he was the student who had the professor say, "You're gonna die."
It says here they saw a silvery white orb hanging in the air in front of Lupin.
Silvery white orb.
Yeah.
Could be a crystal ball.
Lavender thinks it is, but what does Lavender know?
We don't have to have theories, but something to chew on, something to think about.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's something to do with like. Well, he's drinking that potion too, right? And
Yeah.
he needs Snape to like help get him better or something like that. So maybe it has something to do with that. I'm not sure what.
Maybe like divination gets him sick. Or maybe like, even to you, maybe it's like more of a psychological thing. Maybe he had a bad experience. Maybe he was the student that said you were going to die and something traumatic happened to him where he almost died. And he's been terrified of orbs, and it makes him sick for like a month or something like that if he thinks about it. So maybe he got really sick and Snape had to give him some potion or something.
But then Danny was saying at one point off this podcast that
Off the record.
Yeah, we talk
becomes
about
on
Harry
the
Potter
record.
nonstop. So it's on the record, off the record.
Yeah.
okay. I came back. That he dresses as like a bum or like a homeless person, and he's not well kept. So I wonder if that plays into like, is that actually being sick, or is that like he's doing that as a cover up?
Well, it just seems odd. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
If there's a teacher at Hogwarts, I like to think they would get robes if they needed them. You know, Dumbledore's like, good, here, come to this closet, or let me do a little robe spell. It's fixed. If Hermione at first year can fix glasses with a spell, I'd like to think a ripped robe could be fixed with a spell.
Yeah.
That's true.
And yet he's got shabby, dirty robes.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Like, do you not know one cleaning spell?
He likes the look.
I was gonna say maybe it's his style.
The shabby
Ron
chic.
likes
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Ew.
derelict. What is that from
Derelict.
Zoolander? Well, thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. You know what you should do. Give this podcast a rating and review. Go join our subreddit too, where we are discussing this week what you would be if you would be an animagus. We really love recording this podcast. One of us was sick and we actually couldn't record this week, and we were all very depressed and sad about it because we all love recording this so much. So return the favor, give us a rating and review, and spread the word about this podcast. It's so much fun. We love this community. We are so grateful for you for listening.